Hello, everybody, and welcome to the latest issue of Comic Gentlemen, the podcast where we use our decades of being giant nerds to discuss the most divisive issues in the fandom. I'm your host, Greg, joined always by my co-host, Dave.
How's everybody?
You'll notice from the title of this podcast, we are talking James Gunn, The Suicide Squad, which just came out this month. So, we're just going to dive right into it. So, if you haven't seen it and don't want to be spoiled, go see it or whatever. If you don't care or you have seen it,
stop listening.
Yeah, I mean, never stop listening, but just pause it, come back. Or if you don't care, we're gonna talk spoilers. So, let's talk a little bit, Dave, about the build up to the Suicide Squad. So I think it was like, the first one came out. Yep. What was your initial thoughts of the first one?
There were like, I liked some of the characters, and I liked even some of the actors.
Yep.
But the overall movie itself, it was just...
It was a jumbled mess.
It was a movie. It was a jumbled mess. It unfortunately, I think for a movie that was supposed to be led by, like, Will Smith, I think I could care less that he was even in the movie.
Yeah.
It just didn't hold up to the expectations of the comic book, or what I was expecting, especially seeing, again, you see the trailers, you see all the flashy stuff and the funny stuff. Yep. I'm like, oh man, this looks like it's going to be really good. Didn't hold up.
No, and I think that's the worst part is how good the trailer was for Suicide Squad. It's like one of the best trailers for Suicide. You don't care. You don't know who any of the characters are, but you're just hyped like, this is going to be sick. They're going to kill everybody. Everybody's going to die. It's going to be a good time. But then it just turns into this jumbled mess where like one character died that you don't even care about, type of thing. And it's just like, okay. And, like, apparently listening to, like, David Ayer, who directed the movie, talk about the amount of interference that was in the studio and whatnot. Apparently there's a whole different movie out there, kind of like the Snyder Cut.
Oh, jeez.
That is just, like, so much better.
Please, no.
Yeah,
I don't want to go down this.
Ayer cut.
I don't want to go down this road again.
So you had the first one, but the funny thing is, I feel like even though most people agree it's kind of bad, there's so many people who were then like, the Harley Quinn cosplays were out, the Deadshot cosplays were, like, people loved aspects of the movie, but definitely hated the kind of some of the parts type of thing.
Yeah.
So then you have a couple of years ago, it's announced that James Gunn, director of Guardians 1, Guardians 2, is going to take over the Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
So what was your initial thoughts on that?
I was like, that's the perfect director.
Yep.
Action, especially based off the two Guardians movies. Lots of action.
Yeah.
Very funny, but not forced humor. Like, it was just blended in really well. I was like, wow, this is going to be perfect because he's going to take this, like, group of, D-list or delinquents and kind of like you did with Guardians and just make them awesome.
Yeah.
That was my initial thought.
Oh, yeah. And that was 100% mine, too. I was like, there's nothing James Gunn can do wrong with this. He literally just... Especially if... The only thing that could go wrong is if Warner Brothers, again, does the whole, like, we're interfering. But it sounded like they were very much like, no, do whatever the hell you want. We learned from the first one. Just go nuts. And especially considering how it's James Gunn, they're like, hey, give us a Guardians. If you can make us, that much money, we'll let you do whatever the hell you want, right?
Yeah.
So... I think so. Yeah, I mean, obviously the pandemic happened. It was delayed for a while, which is unfortunate. But it finally came out. I think it was. I saw it with you and your whole family. Yeah. I was randomly a member of your family for a day. It was a good time. But like it was pretty like we were
one of the better family members actually.
Just day one.
Immediately towards the top of the list.
I'm sorry for all your brothers listening. But yeah, no, I was.
They expected.
They knew it was coming. But yeah, I was pretty excited going into it. And like, starting off, you have the whole...
I have to say, going into it, I was probably the most excited that I've been about a movie in a while. Like, excited in the sense of, like, I gotta go see this. Not, like, super amped, but definitely like, hey, I'm so glad the theaters are open. I gotta go see this movie.
Well, that's the other thing that happened. I know it affected me a lot. Was I heard so many reviews that were like 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
This is perfect. This is the best. This is the best comic book movie of all time. Yeah. And it's just like, oh man, so hyped for this movie. Like, and maybe that's just the issue of like it raised the bar too much. But like it just, in general, it was a bit of a mess. Would you agree?
It was a garbage fire.
I don't think I'm as mad about it as you are. But you're very mad. Dave's so mad about it.
So mad about it.
Like I think for me, I think having the bar of not only everybody says it's 10 out of 10, but also the fact that it's James Gunn, so you're expecting Guardians of the Galaxy, and you also go, it can't be as bad as the last one.
Yeah.
I think you had a lot of expectations, but like I thought it would be better than what it was. And it's just like, what happened? Like I don't understand. So like, why do you think it's garbage fire?
Couple reasons. I felt like they had all these characters they kept introducing throughout the trailers. Like, oh, look at all these people they're gonna like, and some of them are just like the Javelin or whatever those name is. Like, I mean, they had like some characters you were like, okay, you're cannon fodder. You know, you just knew they were gonna go down, and so you had this like, okay, now I knew if it was James Gunn, I felt like this is gonna be Slaughterfest. Like, you got way too many characters for not like at least 4 or 5 of these guys to go down, you know, at some point during the movie. Then also in the trailer, I felt like all the funniest moments in the trailer were the funniest moments in the movie. I didn't feel like there was a lot there other than Tidy Whities. That was probably the only comment that or joke that was in the show that I felt was like, okay, that wasn't in the trailer. That was pretty funny. So that was in there, and then the whole, just like the whole setup of it, like really, he could have killed them all off and I wouldn't have cared. I had no care or attachment to any of the characters whatsoever. And then as the movie started going, it was just like I cared even less.
Like, they were so like, I think it's hard not to compare it to Guardians because it's the same director, and you can see the similarities with, like, it's a big group of people. You have group dynamics. They all have their own backstory and they all have their own motivations for what they're doing. Yeah. But the main difference between the two of them is that one's Marvel, where it's like you can't be that gory, you can't be that out of that crazy, whereas the other one's was like, no, carte blanche, do whatever the hell you want type of thing. And you can see where the Marvel of it kind of focused Gunn, where it's like, hey, you know. It makes his storytelling a lot tighter, and it makes the story a lot more cohesive.
Well, there was a story.
Right? And like, I feel like the big, like you were saying about like characters you care about, I think it was interesting because like it's funny in the Suicide Squad, they did give you a lot of background for those characters to make you care about them, but I still didn't care. No, like, it's just the way they did it and what their reasonings were just so nothing. Or like, I don't care. Like the whole, like, and they even make the joke of how Bloodsport and Peacekeeper have the same background. And it's like, I don't even care extra now because it's literally the most generic crap of all time. Yes. Like, the only one I could think of the background was like super endearing was Polka Dot Man, in the sense of like, man, you got fucked, dude, by your mom.
Yeah. Jeez. And that was the thing. Like, I mean, it was just at these random periods they would be like, oh, we feel like you need to care about this person now more. So there'd be like a background interlude kind of thing that would just felt like the pacing of what was going on. Like, they'd be just like in the middle of a gunfight, just finished the gunfight, and then somebody'd be like, hey, do you want to hear about my sad story?
That I visualized.
Yeah, that I visualize. And then it just didn't play well.
No,
to me.
Because I think, again, going back to Guardians, like, the way they did all their characters' backstory, you had Star-Lord where you saw his mom die, and that was like, okay, I'm immediately connected to Star-Lord.
Gotcha.
But then, like, Gamora, Rocket, Drax, and Groot, I mean, Groot, you didn't have any backstory, but the other three, they just said what happened, and that was it. They're like, hey, I got experimented on, I messed up. Gamora, my dad's Thanos, I'm messed up. Drax, my kid died, I'm messed up. And it was quick and to the point, and you got it immediately.
Yeah. It was a simple, like, this is why I want revenge, or this is why I don't get along with people. It was just a very simple explanation, and it took like 30 seconds.
Yeah, but like for Bloodsport and the Ratcatcher, they literally paused for like 10 minutes each to like have this dramatic separate movie about their tragic. And same with Polka Dot Man, they pause in the middle of the jungle so he could talk for like 10 minutes about his mom. Yeah, and it's like, the punchline was funny when they all turned into his mom. But the build-up was just such a momentum killer of like, man, you just paused the whole movie for nothing, because in the end it didn't even matter, he just died. So it's like, what was the point? And like, I think that's a very indicative of the whole movie, where it's like the momentum just kept constantly getting stopped. Where it's like, even the beginning intro, you had this huge build-up of the original team. Which, I mean, I saw that coming. I knew they were all gonna die. Except for Harley. I was like, she's the only one that's gonna live, and I knew that was gonna be the joke. But then to have that huge, crazy action scene they just hard cut to back up time to then redo the whole thing again, which is like, to me it was just, what's going on?
I despised the beginning of that movie.
Yeah, really.
And the reason why is because I felt like, wow, what a Deadpool ripoff. Idea. You have all these characters and they're in the movie essentially for like 15 minutes or whatever it was right at the beginning, and the majority of them, with the exception of Harley Quinn, dies, which, like, of course, when you're looking at that entire group, like, you saw more of her in the trailer, so of course you know she's not going to die. But everybody else, they just, just needlessly slaughter. And yes, okay, there was some shock value to it and some funny moments of, like, how they, bit it. But at the end of the day, I kind of felt like, to me, it was just a big joke. And I was expecting more of a, like, okay, we're going to go in, maybe we lose one or two on the beach, and then there's going to be further along, and then we'll lose another. Like, there would be these moments where people go, whereas it was just like, yeah, we're just going to kill everybody in the first 15 minutes, and now it's boiled down to what I found the least, some of the least interesting characters out of that group is still being alive, and now the rest of the movie's just about them.
Yeah, like, I can get the whole, like, it's just a joke thing, and like, I think that's the point of it. It was supposed to joke, but again, you compare it to Deadpool 2, where it's also a joke, but it was just so executed so much better, because you didn't see it coming. Whereas I feel like this one, it's like, yeah, these guys are all gonna die. Like, there's no.
Well, you didn't see it in the trailer. You had no idea he was going to assemble.
Deadpool 2.
Deadpool 2. You didn't know he was going to assemble X-Force. Okay. And then they were like, okay, now we're X-Force. And then they literally are in a helicopter. Then they jump from the helicopter and they all die. Like, they're literally like, before you even can start to get hyped up about, oh my God, X-Force is in the movie, they're dead. So it was like you just had no time to really care. It was just, and it was, like you said, the execution of it was just so much better than what happened in this one. This one was just, how can I try to make this as funny / gory as I possibly can in watching this character die, which I felt was, like, forced and overdone in most cases.
Yeah. Like, even the Weasel dying the way he did was supposed to be so funny, but it just felt so awkward and clunky, and it went on for so long where you're like, yeah, okay, I get it, he's dead. Like, it went on for so long, it lasted the whole movie and came back at the end credits. It was just like, okay.
And I mean, the I can't even remember the stupid character's name,
Savant?
The blonde guy.
Savant.
No, not Savant, the other guy from SNL. I'm sorry,
Pete Davidson.
Yeah. Like him walking on, hey guys, and then somebody just blows his face off. And again, like, it felt like it was like, okay, somebody's gonna die, and instead of it just being like, okay, they're just killed in whatever way, I can understand maybe a major character, we got to do something, kind of spectacular for this, but it just felt like extremely forced. Like, as every single one of them went, it was just over the top, gory, and like, it just felt forced. But then that continued throughout the movie, where it was like you'd be fighting, Soldier 1, Soldier 2, Soldier 3, and instead of just going ba 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 and somebody taking them all out, it was like this over the top, I'm gonna murder you in the worst possible way, and then move on. And it's like, why? Like, couldn't you have maybe spared some of that time and worked on the actual plot of the movie?
Yeah, something, right? Like, it's funny because, like, I feel like on paper these things should be funnier than what they ended up being, but then it just ended up being just like, it's the pacing that really, like,
the pacing was horrible.
Is really bad. And I think that's funny because I think that's the same issue that the first movie had, where it's like, because WB was cramming so much extra crap into Ayer's movie, it ruined the pacing of the movie, and you can feel it as you're watching, and that's why it feels clunky. And it's the same thing with this one, but instead you can't blame the studio because James Gunn was allowed to do it. It's just James Gunn was just messed up his pacing on it, and it's just weird that he would do it.
Well, it was just weird things, like when they decided, like, they get on the beach. They're in a time limit. There's things they got to do, and the first thing they do is like, hey, we're on the beach. Let's camp for the night.
Yeah, let's go.
And it was like, okay, so we're camping the night so we can hear a little bit of a backstory on one character. We can have a funny moment where King Shark is going to eat your Ratcatcher. You can have John Cena wandering around in his underwear. Like, it was just like literally the whole point of that was not to say like, hey, we got to get some rest. It was just like, okay, how can we slow this down at this moment to inject some jokes?
Yeah.
And it just felt, again, horribly paced.
And that continues on for the whole movie because like the scene that really like hit me of like, oh, this isn't good.
Yeah.
Was the Harley Quinn scene, the first one of her talking to the president.
Yes.
I like the whole movie was like, okay, this is okay, I'm sure it'll pick up, but then that scene happens and I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Because the thing that bothers me the most about that scene, it was so unnecessary because I'm watching it and I keep thinking in my head, oh, she's crazy. She must just be imagining him falling in love with her.
Yes, or something like that.
Something like that. And I think that's going to be so funny when it pays off and she's in a torture chamber or something like that. But instead, she was not crazy and it was real.
And he really did like her?
Like,
what?
What was the reasoning behind you represent anti-America and my people will only respect me if I bang a clown chick? Like,
it made zero sense.
And like her shooting him at the end going like, oh, I've had a lot of bad boyfriends and I need to move on. That was good because I enjoyed the fact that she's like, but like, you easily could have merged that scene with the next scene where she's in the exact same predicament. Yeah. And had the exact same, like it could have been, it's all a dream. She ends up in a torture chamber. She gets electrocuted. She escapes and then shoots the guy saying, oh, you're a bad boyfriend. Could have been one scene, but they stretch it out to like these two separate incidences. Yeah. Like go on for so freaking long.
And I felt again like when she shoots him, that was like another one of those like okay, we just built this up. Like how weird is this that she's like got this relationship with this guy and everything else, and then she shoots him, and I felt like that was like one of those like shock moments that you were supposed to be like, oh, and it was like that shock humor. But I didn't find it. I was just like, oh, okay, she shot him. That kind of makes sense. Harley Quinn's nuts. That guy's an idiot. Probably deserved it because why the hell would you get involved with her in the first place? Yeah. Like it just didn't. Again, yet another instance where I felt like it just didn't pay off.
Yeah, I think what they were maybe trying to do was show how different the two guys were. Like you had the general, but then you also had the politician. And I think what they're trying to show is the politician's a little bit of a, like they said, like he's a romantic, whatever. Yeah. And they're trying to build up the other guys way more savage and like I burn a whole cage of birds up and all this stuff. But it just came off so flat of like
that guy. I didn't even care
like,
about.
Who gives a shit about him?
He meant nothing.
What's his name? I don't know.
General Number 1. That's what he was. It was just it was brutal.
Yeah, and then like the next scene after that really again just killed all the momentum was the whole bar scene. Yeah. And again, I think it was supposed to be like the whole like, oh, we're a group, we're coming together. It's supposed to be kind of like in Guardians when they end up on the Reaver ship. Yeah. And they're like, I just saved Gamora from space. Let's all be best friends and whatever. Mm-hmm. But it just was so like a waste of time more than anything else.
Yeah. Again, it was just again the pacing of it just didn't make any sense. And it's like, okay, we're gonna sneak onto an island. Yeah. Which didn't exactly go sneaky. No. And then we're gonna go into a town, but then we're gonna party.
Well, don't forget they murdered all the people that were gonna help them.
Oh yeah, that was I'll give it that was pretty funny and not what I saw coming. Yeah. I'll give James Gunn that one. I like when they went up to the tent, I was fully expecting them to be like in a cage or something. But then as it started progressing, I was like, okay, something's wrong with this situation. And then the fact that she's just like sitting there talking to her and she's like, oh yeah, well, there's a camp of, rebels and we're all going to go. Why my guards have not said anything about you guys being here? Oh, yeah. Because they're all murdered in the worst possible way. Yeah. It was just that got me. I thought that was kind of funny, but for the most part, it was again that pacing was just not there.
Yeah, and then you know what's funny is even like when they kept hard cutting back to like Viola Davis and the people who were running with it, and they were just all asleep. I was just like, yeah, that's how I feel too.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Like I love Viola Davis as Waller. As Waller, she does an amazing job. She's frighteningly not in stature or even in voice frightening, but just knowing what she's capable of, it scares, just terrifies you. But in this one, it was like, okay, so, you've got this person, they're all doing this thing, her crack team of people apparently she hired a bunch of people with like deep down, big hearts that just turned on her and on a dime. I didn't buy into that at all. That was just again, it just felt like that broken up chunky kind of story of like, okay, how can we progress this? Oh, I know. Her team don't like what she's doing, so they're gonna knock her out. Like, what?
Yeah. I mean, the interesting thing is you don't see the girl who clubbed her for the rest of the movie. So, I mean, maybe that's implying that Viola immediately just took her out back and shot her, but, I mean, who knows, right? Or she's on the run, type of thing. I want that movie. No. But, the pacing was weird. The jokes weren't landing as well as they should have.
No.
The ending, so what do you think of the moral dilemma that they presented of, we did bad things, but should we tell people we did bad things? Because if you tell people, things may get worse. Like, what's, like...
I didn't care.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't care. Like, this whole, when you find out that Peacemaker's like, I'm here to make sure that the secret doesn't get out.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, now you know why he's there. And the rest of them are like, oh, there's a secret, we should let everybody know. And, I mean, I kind of felt like, oh, so the U.S. government or a government did something shady with another government and set this up. Yeah. Oh, what a shocker. Like, it just didn't... I felt like that is something that you would have seen in the news if any of this shit was real. Yeah. That's something you would have seen in the news and just kind of gone, oh, that's horrible, but yeah.
You kind of knew that was coming. Well, it seems like a very 80s storyline. Like, like the commies and like the, that
I like the overall... like the moral dilemma of it, I didn't even feel like was a moral dilemma because it wasn't. Oh, so the U.S. government helped set up the station and they've been experimenting and trying to figure out how to weaponize or whatever. Oh my God, you're kidding! Like, I just felt like it was wow, like this is your plot, like this is your big finale. Mm-hmm. This is the big secret. Like, who gives a shit?
Like, and then you even had Idris Elba at the end just completely brush it under the rug, where he's like, we have the secret, but I'm just gonna use it to like get my daughter out of juvie, type of thing. And it's just like, okay.
Oh, and don't blow her heads off.
Yeah, that too. And it's just like, oh, so there really is no point to this. Which, I mean, there shouldn't be a point to the Suicide Squad, just for a good time. But, like, I mean, the fact that it's not a good time, and then you try to push this moral dilemma, and then it's just like, okay, what was the point? Type of thing. And, like, I did enjoy... There were some good things in this movie.
Yes.
I enjoyed Idris Elba talking to his daughter. Because, like, you had the whole, like, he's basically just Will Smith, like, the same character. But then having him just scream at his daughter, I was like, that's funny.
Yeah, because they took it in a different direction than, like, okay, you're tugging on the heartstrings, okay, he's now going to do what he's going to do.
Yeah.
Like, yes, he ended up doing that, but it was also, like, just the relationship that they had was so, like, toxic and horrible that it was just like, what?
Yeah.
Like, it definitely spun it in a different direction.
I did enjoy Ratcatcher, the actress. Like, I thought she did I think that's the thing is mostly people, like, they did the best they could with what they had.
Yeah.
Where it's like, they're all good actors and actresses. It's just, like, the material they were dealing with. And again, you can say the same thing with the first Suicide Squad. It's just the material they're dealing with, it just seems so... whatever. Like, again, Harley Quinn, even though I hated those first two scenes, or the two scenes in the middle of the movie, she's still great. Like, she's still Harley Quinn, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not saying, like, she's, like, the best character of all time, but, like, that's Harley Quinn, type of thing. And then, like, King Shark had funny moments.
Yeah.
It just felt like a very, like, evil Groot, type of thing. Yeah. It's just like, okay. I don't know. Like,
I felt he was... But... I liked King Shark in the sense that it was like Groot with more vocabulary.
Yeah.
And there were parts where, like, it just... Like, I felt like his jokes, like, when they're all sitting in the theater seating, getting the debrief of what the mission is, and you got, Peacemaker making the comment about buttholes, which, again, you saw in the trailer. Yeah. Which I was like, okay, it's kind of funny, but again, it feels like...
Forced.
And then when they cut to him, to King Shark, and he's just like, hand, and that made me laugh. Because it was like, that's funny.
Yeah.
And the same thing when he saw the bird.
Yeah.
And when he saw the fishy things that were swimming in the water. Like, it reminded me, that was the Groot character for the group. I actually... like watching it, I'm done with Harley Quinn.
Yeah.
If I see another bloody Harley Quinn thing, I'm gonna lose my mind because it's this like the first time it was good. Introduction, it's on the screen, it's always exciting, but I just felt like she did the same shtick.
Yeah.
It was the same type of jokes, the same kind of, and it just didn't land for me this time at all. And I think it's maybe because I watched bits of Bird of Prey too, and I was like, this is just like, I don't know, I just didn't enjoy it at all. But characters like the polka dot, like he was good, like he was interesting.
Yeah.
I was actually like, wow, this guy's kind of messed up.
Yeah.
But interesting.
Yeah.
You know, I wanted to see more of. I didn't even know what his name was because he was in the movie that quickly. Where the guy with his arms detached.
TBK.
Yeah, TBK. Like I wanted to see him more in the movie, like to see what he would do with those arms and stuff. Like there was just stuff like that just didn't pay off because again, you either killed all the characters, and I'm sorry, they kept the majority of the boring ones.
Yeah.
John Cena is just like, I think the perfect actor for someone like James Gunn or any kind of like comedic writer, because it's just like, I wonder if John Cena will do this. Oh yeah, he will. Okay, I wonder if he'll do this. Oh, he will. You know, like, and John will just do whatever he does. And I found John funny, but I think you made the comment to me through just after the movie. He's the same character in every movie.
Oh yeah.
He acts exactly the same. I mean, he's not a professional actor.
No.
But he acts the exact same in every movie. So you were expecting that humor from him.
Yeah. Yeah, like, I think I did enjoy, not his turn, because he was always a villain the whole movie, but, like, just him going, like, no, I'm going to keep this a secret, and I don't care who I have to. Because, I mean, he established that in the beginning of the movie. I'll kill whoever the hell I feel. I'll do whatever I can to keep the peace.
Yeah.
Eat a whole beach full of dicks for peace. You know, everything. And it's like, yeah, it makes sense that his character would go, no, I'm going to keep the peace and keep the secret. Total sense. Why keep him alive, though?
Yeah.
I felt like his death was so good. Like, you had the whole, like, oh, I have smaller bullets thing, which is a callback from the beginning. He had his turn, but obviously he can't go back to his team. It just made sense.
Yeah.
But then, like, just to have him live at the end, it just felt like, oh.
But then you can't make a TV series.
Can't make it. But just have a prequel or something.
Or whatever.
Yeah, but it's like he didn't even need a TV series. And
no.
You don't need any more Peacekeeper. It's like he was fine the way... He was the only one in the movie who didn't have a tragic backstory other than they made fun of the fact that it was the same as Bloodsports.
Yeah.
So it just didn't make any sense to keep him alive, in my opinion.
I felt like if you compare, going back to the comparison of the first and the second, the first one, even though it was not great, there was at least some drama to the end. It felt like there were bigger stakes at hand, in the sense of like this being that's taking, that's been, re-released, I guess, or brought back. It just seemed more, I guess, serious and dire, I guess. Whereas this was just like, as this giant starfish is wandering through the city, just absolutely demolishing everything and turning people into basically, squiddy zombie type people.
Yeah.
At no point I was just like, I wonder how they're just going to stupidly kill this thing. And then, part of that is Harley Quinn jumping into the middle of its eye, and then she's like floating around
and not drowning.
Yeah, I really, the more I sat there and thought about it, it was like, I don't think I could have been more disappointed with a movie that I was looking forward to than this.
So do you think the hype building up to it, like, affected, like, if you think...
I think that played a factor,
like, if you hadn't seen any trailers or heard any of the hype, do you think you would have liked it more?
If I hadn't seen, I probably would have liked it more, because then at least I wouldn't have seen the funniest parts of the movie.
99% of the jokes.
In the trailer. Yeah. And you wouldn't have had any idea that, there were all these other superheroes, or villains, rather, that were going to be in the movie. Oh, but only for 15 minutes before they all got massacred.
Yeah.
I think there was certainly some, there would have been, like, it's certainly, because of the hype, helped dampen my overall view of it, but even without that, I just felt like it was just a waste of 2 hours that I could have just watched at home. Like, it's a movie that I wanted to go see and raced to go see in the theater. I felt disappointed that I could have just, waited until it came out on Netflix and watched it then for free.
Yeah, like it definitely is just when it comes on streaming, maybe check it out if you're bored type of thing.
Yeah.
So in general, talking about the Suicide Squad, have you read a lot of Suicide Squad? Or?
I haven't read a lot. I mainly picked it up right around the time I believe the first movie was coming out. Jim Lee restarted it, and of course, being a huge Jim Lee fan, I had to pick those up, and I enjoyed it. But again, like I enjoy it for certain characters like Deadshot or Killer Croc, or some of these other characters. Even like to an extreme, like worst costume ever, but Boomerang, like just his attitude is kind of funny.
Yeah.
But I really don't get Harley Quinn. Yeah. Like I just don't get why she went from this like Joker sidekick to being like this ultra popular character. Like I just don't connect with it. Yeah. And I mean, it's like any characters. I mean, there's characters out there in the Marvel universe, DC universe that people connect to that I don't get. I just don't get it.
Yeah.
And I don't find like Margot Robbie exactly like over the top funny, especially for a character that's supposed to be wacky, crazy. Well, I just don't like. For me, it just wasn't a good fit. I was watching the movies and I read the comics for different characters. Than that.
Yeah, like I think the big thing for me about the Suicide Squad comic books is the fact that like you need to have villains on these missions because one, it's usually a moral dilemma for the heroes to be involved, and two, or it's to cover up some sort of government bullshit, right?
Yeah.
And like I feel like both the first Suicide Squad and the second one had the idea of like we're kind of covering up government bullshit. Like the first one was Amanda Waller messed up and let the Enchantress escape, which was a whole stupid thing that never should have been part of the movie. And the second one, you had the whole like U.S. government kind of fault for the whole Starro thing. But I think the biggest issue with both of those movies is that at the end you have these giant fights where whole cities are getting devastated. Where's Batman? Where's Superman? Where's one? Like these aren't.
It wasn't in the United States.
Yeah. Well, the first one was. The first one was.
Oh, the first one.
And that's what I'm saying is like
right.
these things that end up happening at the end of the movies. I understand they're trying to make it escalate so that it's like more epic and all this stuff. But it's like at a certain point though, why doesn't Superman just swing in and solve the problem for you? Because they know what's happening. You know. Like, I mean, if they're alive, I guess. But like. It
needed to be more covert.
Yeah, exactly. And it's supposed to be one of those things where it's like an answer to a question that a superhero would not be willing to do.
Yeah.
One of my first Suicide Squad comics I read, the answer to the question of how to solve the problem was shoot this kid. That's the only way you can solve the problem. And guess what? The villains were willing to shoot a kid. So it's like, but when the answer to the question is, oh, go fight a giant monster, it's like, why doesn't the superheroes then help you? Because like I think in this one what they could have done, because they had the whole Starro mind controlled the whole island, or at least part of the city, it could have been like, oh, what they said was the people are dead now, so just kill them. But if they had actually said like, oh no, there's a chance we could save them, but then they had to make the choice of, well, we have to get to Starro though.
We're bad guys, and we're just gonna take the path of least resistance,
which is
just kill them all.
So like I don't understand why they felt the need to like justify their actions if they're already villains. I mean, obviously they're trying to make them sympathetic, but it's like, but the point of this is that you're assholes, and you're supposed to be doing this.
No,
and I just feel like there's never going to be a good way to do the Suicide Squad in theaters because they're always going to want to try to make the main characters sympathetic no matter what they do. And even again, the same issue with both Will Smith and Idris Elba is that even though they're mercenaries, assassins, ready to kill whoever they have to, but they have daughters that they love, so they're not 100% assholes. And even if Idris Elba yelled at his daughter, eventually he came around because of Ratcatcher and was like, you know what, maybe I am a bad dad. And same with like all the villains and whatnot. Why can't you just have a bad villain? I mean, Peacekeeper was the best perfect example.
Yeah, he was just like, this is what I am.
Yep.
And he stayed the course the whole show. He didn't have an epiphany. He didn't have a change of heart. He was just like, oh, what? You're doing that? No, that's against what I was doing. I'm going to kill you now.
Yeah, exactly, right? Like it's like, I think that's, to me, is going to be if they ever do a good Suicide Squad movie, that's what they need to do, is just go like, no, these guys are villains. They're going to kill whoever they have to kill to survive. And it's just like, I feel like they need to just pivot it to a like HBO Max series or something like that. Because I feel like in that scenario, it's more willing to have a villain be a villain, whereas in a movie they're always going to try to pander to more broad audience, so that's why they're going to make them sympathetic, you know.
Yeah, it was just it just didn't work. It was I didn't feel it was. I mean, there's part of me that was like, okay, it was better, but not much better than the first one, and then there's parts of me that was like, no, actually, there were parts of the first one that I liked better than that one. But in the end, it was a disappointment. I didn't understand the 10 out of 10s.
No, what was that?
I didn't understand the these glowing reviews from all these people. Like, it was just not what people were saying it was.
Well, that was the funny part, is that, like I said,
in my opinion.
In the end, it's all subjective. But like you and me, I'm so glad you and I were on the same page. Like, we literally we both looked at each other and was like, what the fuck was that? But then everybody else we were with in the movie theater was like, oh, that was a good time.
Yeah.
And it's just like,
yeah.
What were you watching?
I mean, my wife was like, I set a bar so low that because there was just people on the screen, it was an enjoyable show because my bar was so low.
Yeah.
But I mean, my brother, who was just like, oh, that was awesome. And I'm like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Like, I didn't get it. Like, and maybe that's just...
We're jaded.
Well, I don't know if it's so much jaded. I think... Like, if I was just going to just mindlessly be entertained for 2 hours, yeah, sure, it would have been, well, anything would be fine. But that would have been fine. But I just expect, especially when you're looking at, what the Marvel Universe has done with theirs, what some of the DC movies in the past, like the Batman movies have done, where there's a good story there. There's just like, you put some effort in. Like, this just didn't seem like, it was just like, we have lots of money. Yeah. And we're going to do some crazy shit. And that's the purpose of this movie. Yeah. Like, it just didn't sink. Like, I think a lot of people go to the movies now expecting more.
And then we say that
special effects
and we say that, but then Fast and Furious has 9 movies. You know, it's just like, wait, there's an audience for this.
But I think with Fast and the Furious, people literally just go to the movie, knowing, like, everybody knows. I think after like the first one, everybody knows that you're going to the Fast and Furious. You're gonna see some shit that is just ridiculous. Yeah. That is just impossible. That is so dumb. But within the genre of what they're doing, it works, right? Like, I don't go to that movie going like, I'm gonna see some realistic racing, like, I don't see that shit. Yeah. Jumping from one level of a skyscraper to another in a car, like crap like that is just absolutely ridiculous. And these characters, like, they must just be like either adrenaline junkies or they feel nothing, because some of the stuff they pull off in those movies is just absolutely insane. With this, it was like, we have a kind of a mold of what people are expecting from a comic book movie, and Marvel seems to be nailing it, and DC just seems to be failing time and again with everything they keep putting out.
Yeah, like here's the thing, is like you just said, some of the older movies that they did, like Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight was great. Mm-hmm. The whole trilogy was great. Yep. And the new Batman movie coming out with Robert Pattinson looks interesting. Looks good. But again, that's the same issue though with the Suicide Squad. Is on paper it made sense that give James Gunn a bunch of people he can kill.
James Gunn, you got the Suicide Squad.
Yeah, the whole good cast.
This is gonna be this should be good.
It just didn't work, and I just don't understand why they can't make it work.
Yeah, and again and again and again, and then the one time that they made those strides forward with, I think, the first Wonder Woman, I thought was probably their best movie, DC's best movie in a long time. And I was like, this was actually, I enjoyed it. Like, I actually was like, I want to see that again. Yeah, like, that was good. And then they followed it up with just a piece of trash in the second one.
It was so bad.
Yeah, like, it just didn't make any sense. Like, I don't understand why they can't get their shit together.
Well, apparently now they got bought out by Discovery Channel. Yeah. So, I mean, I guess we'll see what happens.
And we know, Discovery Channel, I can't get enough of Mountain Men or Alaska Miners or, that kind of crap.
It'd be great.
Like...
Yeah, I don't know. So going forward,
it only makes sense that actually the Discovery Channel would buy that, because I don't understand what the Discovery Channel is anymore.
Exactly. What are they discovering?
I don't know. More ways to disappoint people. That's what.
Then DC is perfect.
Yes, if you're gonna buy a comic book, movie franchise, there you go. That's the one.
So I saw a funny post the other day.
Yeah.
Where they were like, they should just keep, every time they make a Suicide Squad movie, just give it a different director and just see what, like, eventually have 20 Suicide Squad movies that are all completely different, and it'll just be Margot Robbie. Like, do you think they should just stop, or do you think they should give James Gunn another chance, or should they try a different director and just keep throwing at the wall and see what happens? Like, what do you?
I think what they want to do, if they want to do the Suicide Squad, is they should just go, okay, first squad went in, did their thing. Second squad went in, got murdered, with the exception of some of them. The next one, like, why don't you have a Suicide Squad of like a bunch of other characters that are not those characters? Like, if you cycled out the characters, but again, I don't think it was a James Gunn. I think that was like, I hate to say it, I think it was a mistake to say like, here, James, just have carte blanche on everything that you're doing with this movie, because he epically failed. Yeah. And anybody that says, "Oh, that was awesome, that was great," is lying to themselves. Either that, or they're just going and saying, "You know what? I love gory, violent movies, and that was perfect." Okay, if that's the thing that you're looking for, sure. Mm-hmm. But I mean, go and read the Suicide Squad. It's not an overly gory comic.
Yeah. Yeah, and then there are some comics out there that are more gory, and it's just like,
for sure.
There you go. And like, I think maybe it was just not too high of expectations for what this movie is supposed to be, but at the same time they marketed that it was supposed to be like that, so it's like, okay, whatever.
Like if we were comparing it to like our previous rankings of some of the Marvel movies, I would rather watch Captain Marvel again than watch that.
And for everybody who heard last month's issue, you know how big of a compliment that or how big of an insult that is.
Yeah. It just wasn't it. And I don't know if it's like, I'd have to go back and take a look. I don't know how much creative control James Gunn had with the Guardians, like if there was somebody in there writing. Like, obviously Kevin Feige and the rest of the group are in there steering the ship to some degree, and maybe that's what James Gunn needed to just go do whatever you want. Yeah. This is what you got, and it was like, not. Yeah.
Well, I know there was another writer on Guardians 1, which we should look up, because she was actually really, I feel like, because it's interesting, because we said again in our ranking of Marvel movies, we said Guardians 1 was so much better than Guardians 2, so maybe it was one of those things where it's like they gave all the credit to James Gunn, but it was somebody holding him back a little bit that helped.
And I do feel like if you look at it, like, you had Guardians 1, he directed it, you had Ronan the Accuser, who, like, again, when we discussed this, you were very happy with the dance off at the end. I wasn't. I kind of wanted to see him kind of wield the full might of who Ronan the Accuser is, even if it ended up in a dance off. Okay, sure, but I just wanted to see him like whoop some of the Guardians really bad. Yeah, and that didn't happen. But regardless, you had him, and then I feel like it makes sense to me if James Gunn had more say over the second one, because that would explain Ego.
Yeah. So yeah, in Guardians 1, he wrote it, but he wrote it with Nicole Perlman, whose writing credits are, you're going to love this, Captain Marvel. Ooh. So that's interesting. But she also wrote Detective Pikachu, which I think was very was decent. So Guardians 2, let's see if he was solo on that. Credits. See all writing.
I just felt the similarity between Ego as the end boss and
Star. Yeah, he wrote Guardians 2. Yeah. So yeah, you can
makes
see
a lot of sense.
Yeah. So it's like you can kind of see that, like, he kind of needs somebody else kind of like he is a good visual director, and you can tell he does well with a group of characters. Yeah. He needs somebody there just to be like, maybe, slow down 5 kilometers an hour. Slow down a little bit. Tone it down a little bit. Yeah. So
it was.
So it's interesting. I think DC just needs a win, and hopefully,
so badly.
And hopefully this Robert Pattinson movie pans out. Because if it doesn't, just give up. At this point.
Well, they seem to, like I said, when we were talking about some of this before, I think they generally go with a very dark genre, which really only works for Batman.
Yeah.
Didn't work in the Justice League because the rest of everybody in the Justice League is very flashy and bright.
Yeah.
And it just
happy.
And happy, and it didn't work to take all those characters and just like, make them depressing. But they've done that with even the single characters. Like the Superman movie was not a fun ride.
Yeah, no.
Like I don't know why they like, if it's more of a like, hey, okay, Marvel's gone with more of a like slapsticky, there's going to be humor in this regardless of which character we're dealing with, and they do it well. Whereas it's like they almost went in the opposite direction and said like, we're just going to make this like as serious as we possibly can.
Yeah.
And it's just not working.
And the interesting thing is, I heard some people say it's like, but they never gave Zack Snyder the chance to give his full vision of how Superman was going to go from depressing to heroic and whatnot. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, it's like, but then you see the Justice League uncut version, and it's still shit. So it's like, maybe it's just DC's issue of they have bad directors. But then it's like, but James Gunn was part of Guardian, so it's like, oh, how are they ever supposed to go find good directors? So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, with the Justice League, it was the same thing. Like, I appreciated that his vision, which seemed to be, let's inject more slow motion and random scenes in the movie that don't make any sense. But at least there was an attempt, to like connect, whether it landed or not, like to connect in his vision of like why everybody's wanting to come together to do this. It didn't go over as well as like say the Avengers movie, but at least there was an attempt, but it was still not good. Yeah. And they just keep landing on the poor side. And I remember making this argument back when I was a kid. I feel like the stable of Marvel heroes, for whatever reason, just seems to land more popularly with people than DC. Mm-hmm. Like, even though everybody knows Superman, everybody knows Batman, but once you get past that, what do you got? Yeah. Like, it just doesn't land. And I mean, this was a great concept. Like you said, heard he was directing, who's going to be in it. It's the Suicide Squad. Oh man, I'm excited, and it just didn't work.
No, it just didn't work.
It checked all the boxes.
Yeah, and they just didn't stick the landing. So yeah, that's kind of our rant against the Suicide Squad. If you're one of those people out there who gave it 10 out of 10, let us know why.
Yeah,
like please. I just like, because I listened to some of those reviews, and they never gave, the only thing they kept saying about it was
spectacular,
funny and like all this stuff. And it's like, but like, did you not see all the flaws with it? Like, were you just high on copium and like just didn't notice, right? So
just shiny things.
Hand. Did you know that was Sylvester Stallone?
Oh really?
Yeah, apparently like
that makes sense.
It's pretty funny. But anyway, so yeah, if you're one of those people who are out there who gave it 10 out of 10, just let us know why. We're very curious why. But other than that, that's kind of our feelings on the Suicide Squad. Make sure to follow us wherever you found us. We upload every month. So yeah, next one will be an interesting one, but we'll see you all next time.
Catch you later.